Here's what you missed in the last 25 hours. You had 30 videos worth catching up on, covering everything from massive AI breakthroughs in interpretability to Anthropic's billion-dollar deployment strategy shift to Chinese EVs potentially taking over European factories. The big AI story was Dylan Curious breaking down what he calls one of the most promising breakthroughs he's seen in years, Anthropic's natural language autoencoders. This research literally lets us read AI's mind by translating Claude's internal thoughts into readable text. Dylan was genuinely excited explaining how the system uses one AI model to convert activations to text, another to convert back to numbers, and compares results for accuracy. What's fascinating is what they discovered: Claude plans rhymes before writing them, internally identifies users' nationalities before switching languages, and actually recognizes when it's being tested for safety. In one blackmail scenario, Claude's internal thoughts revealed it understood the manipulation perfectly. They can even modify these thoughts, changing rabbit to mouse in the planning stage altered the final poem. Dylan also covered the figure 3 robots that cleaned a room and made a bed in under 2 minutes with real-time coordination, and warned about the emerging vibe coding crisis, where AI-generated code contains more security flaws than human code. Plus, there's concerning research on AI chatbot addiction patterns and signs that AI systems might be learning to self-replicate across networks. Speaking of AI security concerns, Matthew Berman delivered what might be his most sobering take yet, saying this is the first time he's genuinely worried about AI developments. The reason? Cybercrimes are becoming both easier and more profitable. Google's threat intelligence group detected the first confirmed AI-discovered zero-day exploit being used in the wild, and there's this shy-heeled worm spreading across NPM that destroys home directories when users revoke stolen GitHub tokens. Berman was particularly concerned about the long-tail economic argument. AI now makes it profitable to attack smaller targets in parallel because the cost and difficulty of mounting attacks has dropped dramatically. He did present the AI versus AI defense argument, noting that good actors should have superior AI due to massive resource requirements, but acknowledged that state actors remain a genuine concern for national security. On a related note, Nate from AI News and Strategy daily revealed what he sees as the real story behind Anthropic's $1.5 billion raise. It wasn't primarily about Claude development, but about creating a deployment services company with private equity partners. Nate was genuinely excited about this convergence, explaining how PE has capital, but their traditional SaaS investments are struggling because AI agents are taking over those functions. Meanwhile, AI labs need capital for deployment, but aren't equipped for that kind of work. The key insight is that agents can now reliably complete entire workflows at 100%, something that apparently became possible just this spring. This creates what Nate calls trillions of dollars in value because there's disproportionate value in reaching complete automation versus partial. Moving to technical breakthroughs, Dr. Katyal from 2-Minute Papers was genuinely impressed by NVIDIA's new 30 billion parameter DeepSeek model, calling its efficiency gains insanely quick. What makes this special isn't intelligence, but throughput. It processes nearly 10 times faster than real-time for video tasks. The technical innovations are fascinating. Mamba layers that scale linearly instead of quadratically with context length, direct audio processing that preserves emotional data while eliminating the need for separate speech recognition, and 3D convolutions that analyze video frame blocks simultaneously instead of processing frame by frame. Plus, it consolidates 3 separate clip model functions into one small encoder. The key insight is that while it may not be the smartest model available, for multimodal tasks requiring fast, cheap processing, this approach excels. Stefan Mischuk brought some practical perspective to AI coding hype, discussing Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky's announcement that AI now writes 60% of their new code as of May 2026. Stefan was pragmatically optimistic, emphasizing that human engineers still review, manage, and improve all the AI output since these engines don't actually think. They just predict the next likely token. He made a strong historical parallel to the introduction of computers, noting that people who embraced new tools early did extremely well while those who resisted lost out. But he stressed that to use AI effectively, you still need to understand code review, design patterns, refactoring, and system architecture. The productivity gap is real. Developers with solid fundamentals become hyperproductive with AI, while those without hit an 80% wall, where things partially work but fall apart. The AI Daily Brief covered some major developments, starting with OpenAI officially launching their consulting company called DeployCo as a separate joint venture, with $4 billion raised at a $10 billion pre-money valuation. But the most intriguing story was Thinking Machines Lab's announcement of interaction models, a fundamental shift from turn-based chat to continuous real-time interaction. Their system processes 200 millisecond microturns, enabling simultaneous conversation and background processing. The demos were impressive, recognizing new people entering screens, real-time translation while someone's still speaking, and multitasking with background search. The host introduced his Unlock Index concept, measuring models by new use cases enabled rather than traditional benchmarks, and this definitely seems to unlock new paradigms for human-AI collaboration. Dan Martell delivered some brutally honest advice about getting rich with AI, and he was clearly frustrated with the get-rich-quick hype. His core message is that AI won't make you rich, it's just a tool that amplifies existing business fundamentals. The real opportunity lies in becoming an agent operator who uses AI to enhance human capabilities rather than replace them. He introduced his gain matrix framework, categorizing tasks as give delegate to AI immediately, accelerate biggest leverage where AI does in minutes what takes humans hours, integrate collaborative work where AI provides options but humans provide judgment, and know AI, emotional intelligence, leadership, conflict resolution. His key insight is that technical skills can be taught, but human skills like vision, taste, and relationship management are irreplaceable, and that's where the advantage lies. Maximilian Schwarzmuller provided an important perspective on where OpenAI and Anthropic are really heading. While everyone focuses on coding capabilities, he argued these companies view coding as just the first step toward capturing all white-collar work. OpenAI pursues a super app strategy through ChatGPT, while Anthropic splits functionality across Claude Code and Codex. The real target market is the much larger group of white-collar workers spending their days in Excel and Word rather than code editors. He remained skeptical that coding is solved, but acknowledged both companies are positioning for this broader automation of knowledge work. The key insight is that developers are just early adopters. The real business opportunity is in automating routine office tasks for millions of non-technical workers. Manilow Remedy made a compelling case that local AI models are only stupid because people use them like ChatGPT instead of as proper agents. He was genuinely excited about this being a sci-fi moment, demonstrating how his local AI autonomously installed image generation software on a separate machine, configured it, downloaded models, generated images, and posted to Telegram, all in 10-15 minutes for a task that would have taken him half a day. The key insight is that smaller models have less intelligence per token, so you need more tokens strategically deployed within frameworks rather than single-shot prompting. His approach involves loops of specification, implementation, review, patching, and verification, plus providing awareness through relevant data and context. He's building this into Resonant OS, a framework where multiple AI agents work together hierarchically. Dave Farley from Modern Software Engineering made a passionate argument that AI won't replace software engineering, but will actually make continuous delivery practices more critical than ever. He was clearly frustrated when explaining how AI accelerates the wrong part of the development process. Code generation was never the bottleneck. The real bottlenecks are understanding, designing, testing, integrating, and deploying. Since AI makes code generation cheap, we'll produce more code, creating what he calls a complexity bomb with a delayed fuse, unless properly controlled. His personal anecdote about 200 consultants being brought in overnight on a project, working 60-80-hour weeks for 18 months with no working code, illustrates why discipline matters. Working so your system is always in a releasable state becomes crucial when AI can generate massive amounts of code that needs constant validation. OpenAI's Build Hour showcased their new GPT Real-Time 2 model with some impressive demonstrations. The team was enthusiastic about the improvements: 4x increased context window to 128K tokens, parallel tool calls, and what they call GPT-5 class reasoning for voice interactions. The DMOS showed voice-powered e-commerce search, helping plan Pacific Northwest hiking trips, and voice-controlled analytics dashboards. But the really interesting insights came from Sierra, their customer who builds enterprise voice agents. Ken and Soham provided sobering reality checks about production challenges. Real calls involve interruptions, accents, background noise, and complex error recovery. They emphasized that 30% faster calls at P50 and 200% faster at P90 is great, but voice quality alone isn't sufficient. You need to evaluate complete call success and have proper workflow orchestration with supervisor systems. Jacob Wilkinson from Microsoft demonstrated how their Power Apps MCP server enables business users to supervise autonomous AI agents, using an insurance claims app as the example. He was confident about Microsoft's vision, where every information worker has both a co-pilot and a team of digital workers automating work at scale. The system provides 3 key tools: log for review for passive oversight, request assistance for ambiguous situations, and invoke data entry for creating records from freeform text. The demo showed agents handling claim intake and coverage determination, with human-in-the-loop functionality for complex decisions like determining water source for basement flooding claims. The key insight is that apps become the place where humans oversee work rather than do work, and business users who understand workflows need to be the ones supervising these agents, not just IT staff. On the debugging front, Microsoft Developer tackled whether debugging AI systems is fundamentally different from traditional software, answering with an unequivocal yes. The core issue is that AI systems are probabilistic and non-deterministic. Every execution might produce different answers because they're inherently probabilistic. This compounds in agentic systems where one LLM makes a decision, calls a tool, and that response triggers another decision, creating execution trajectories that can diverge widely from run to run. Their main recommendation is to run systems in production multiple times to observe behavioral patterns, then implement guardrails around cases where AI might deviate from desired behavior. As they noted, there's no silver bullet for handling non-determinism. Another Microsoft developer demonstrated how GitHub Copilot can automate containerizing and deploying Java applications to Azure through pre-built tasks. They showed taking a Java 21 ski shop app from local development to Azure container apps with minimal manual intervention. Copilot analyzes the application exactly as a human engineer would, creates a containerization plan with 7 steps, generates Docker files, builds images, and handles deployment. The process moved from containerization through infrastructure provisioning to full Azure deployment, though they emphasized maintaining human control over decisions while letting AI handle the repetitive, error-prone work. The demo worked well despite a minor currency display bug showing Japanese yen instead of dollars. Moving to Java development, Bazlur, Rahman, and Michael Redlich discussed Rahman's book, Modern Concurrency in Java, at GOTO 2026. Both were enthusiastic about covering the evolution from traditional threads to virtual threads and modern tools. Rahman was passionate about bridging the educational gap since the last major Java concurrency book was 20 years old. The key insight is that virtual threads make concurrency cheaper rather than faster, particularly beneficial for I/O-heavy workloads. They discussed structured concurrency treating related concurrent tasks as single units with clear parent-child relationships, though it's still in preview and expected to finalize in JDK 26. Rahman emphasized the importance of understanding fundamental concepts like design patterns and architecture, since AI lacks judgment for higher-level decisions. SmartyRBX showed how to set up OpenAI's Codex with Roblox Studio, positioning it as superior to Claude for budget-conscious developers due to more generous usage limits. He was enthusiastic about solving a real problem for developers, walking through the complete setup process from downloading Codex to configuring Roblox's script sync feature. The process involves syncing server script service, starter player, and replicated storage to separate folders, though he warned about script sync's reliability issues where it can randomly disconnect. Once connected, Codex responds to natural language prompts for UI creation and coding tasks. He emphasized this as a more cost-effective alternative to Claude's restrictive limits. Bigot made a compelling case that building a business as a developer in 2026 has become embarrassingly easy. He was evangelistic about the opportunity, arguing that AI tools eliminated the technical barriers while creating massive demand from panicked business owners. His thesis challenges conventional wisdom. Landing a $10,000 client is easier than passing a Google technical interview because building software has become commoditized, while human interaction remains the bottleneck. He shared examples from his code to CEO accelerator like Sandra, an MIT grad who made more than both her engineering salaries combined and quit both jobs within a year. The key insight is that 2026 uniquely combines near-zero delivery costs through AI, collective business panic about AI, imploding non-technical competition, and 10,000 boomer business owners retiring daily with businesses needing modernization. Neal Kumar Katyal delivered a captivating TED Talk about winning a $1 trillion Supreme Court case by combining human connection skills with AI assistance. He was theatrical throughout, describing how he used an AI system called Harvey that he'd been training for a year on 25 years of Supreme Court data. Harvey predicted justice questions with stunning accuracy, almost matching Justice Barrett's actual concerns verbatim. But Katyal emphasized that AI's predictive power isn't enough. The irreplaceable human skill is genuine connection and the ability to adjust not just arguments, but delivery, pauses, and tone based on reading the other person. His 6-3 victory striking down the tariffs came down to that half-second pause when Justice Barrett asked an unpredicted question, where he looked at her to understand her worry before answering. Matt Maher presented fascinating research on how AI models preserve user intent when moving from request to execution plan. He was genuinely curious about his findings, having tested for about a year whether models could track features versus the actual intent behind those features. His new CARE benchmark revealed that even the best models only retain about 80% of user intent, with the surprising discovery that high-reasoning modes sometimes perform worse than medium reasoning modes. GPT-5 High achieved the benchmark's peak of 81.6% intent recovery, while GPT-5 Extra High only reached 75%. Both Opus and GPT showed exactly a 6-point advantage for high modes over their maximum reasoning modes. Matt found this counterintuitive, speculating that models might be thinking too hard, where reasoning actually hurts intent preservation. Car Edge presented the slowest-selling cars in America for May 2026, revealing massive dealer inventories, creating significant negotiation opportunities. The presenters were informative but clearly amused by some entries, expressing genuine surprise that vehicles like the Jeep Wrangler 2-door and Chevy Blazer EV made the list. The worst performer was the Volkswagen ID.4 with 716 days supply, meaning it would take nearly 2 years to sell current inventory at current sales rates. Other notable struggles included the Polestar 4 at 710 days and the Dodge Charger at exactly 1 year supply with over 10,000 units sitting on lots. They emphasized that expressing interest in these vehicles gives buyers all the leverage in the world with desperate dealers. Brian Lunjuk delivered some bewildering news about openSUSE Linux. They've banned users under 16 or the age of majority from accessing their websites, documentation, repositories, and effectively using the distribution at all. Lunjuk was clearly frustrated throughout, repeatedly calling the policy ridiculous and preposterous. The ban was added in March 2025 by SUSE Corporate through their legal counsel VP, with no parental consent option. Lunjuk revealed his personal ban from openSUSE despite previously being on the board and working at SUSE for years as their most recognizable public face. He explained that openSUSE, despite wanting to appear community-run, is actually controlled entirely by SUSE Corporation out of Germany. The policy would make it illegal for high school computer clubs to use openSUSE and prevents parents from setting up the OS for their own teenagers. The Ioniq guy covered Hyundai's spring 2026 software updates, though he was clearly frustrated by the disparity between newer and older systems. CC&C-equipped cars get always-connected maps and new streaming services like Amazon Music and SoundCloud, while older Gen 5W system cars only receive basic map updates. He was particularly annoyed when demonstrating the broken SoundCloud integration, sarcastically noting it was broken at launch, and calling it typical Hyundai software integration. The one positive was a fix for 2026 Ioniq 5 owners' plug and charge functionality, which had been broken for months. He flatly told Gen 5W owners to stop complaining about missing features since they're never going to see it. Sam Evans from the Electric Viking took a skeptical look at MG's new, semi-solid-state batteries, calling them largely a marketing trick. He was clearly annoyed by what he sees as misleading marketing, having seen dozens of articles hyping these batteries in the past week. The MG4X starts at $14,700 USD with decent specs, but Evans argued the actual performance numbers don't support the revolutionary claims. The battery is 95% solid electrolyte and 5% liquid, but when he compared it to existing lithium batteries, he couldn't find evidence of breakthrough benefits like dramatically higher energy density, faster charging, or significant weight savings. His key point is that real battery breakthroughs should show up in measurable specifications, and this doesn't deliver the performance people expect when they hear solid state. The Electric Viking also reviewed Subaru's new Uncharted EV, highlighting its exceptional ground clearance of 211, compared to Tesla Model Y's 167 as the standout feature. He was measured but enthusiastic about this differentiator, seeing it as genuinely valuable for off-road driving, camping, and rough terrain. The vehicle offers dual motors producing 338 horsepower, 522 kilometers WLTP range, and impressive 22 kW AC charging capability. Pricing varies by region, with Canada getting the most affordable options, starting just over $30,000 USD. He acknowledged pricing challenges since it sits above competitors like the base Tesla Model Y, but emphasized that the superior ground clearance, all-wheel drive, and proper off-road electronics make it potentially the most practical electric SUV for buyers wanting genuine capability. The Electric Viking covered Xpeng's CEO predicting that 5 Chinese automakers will achieve trillion-dollar revenues, though with 125 Chinese EV companies currently competing, identifying the survivors remains challenging. He was enthusiastic about the investment potential, but quickly tempered this with realistic caution about picking winners. The CEO had previously stated only 7 Chinese automakers would survive the next 5 to 6 years, creating an interesting dynamic where 7 survive, but only 5 reach trillion-dollar status. Car News China identified BYD, SAIC, Geely, Chery, and Great Wall Motors as potential winners, though the Electric Viking expressed skepticism about some choices. Current market data shows EVs now represent 61% of all car sales in China as of April, a record high that demonstrates the market's rapid electrification. Finally, the Electric Viking reported on BYD potentially taking over Volkswagen's German factory in Dresden as Volkswagen shifts production to China. He was concerned but not surprised, calling the news alarming, not surprising but alarming. The strategy appears to be shipping components as kits to Germany for local assembly, circumventing tariffs while gaining Made in Germany branding. This connects to broader geopolitical dynamics around European tariffs on Chinese EVs, where Germany voted against the tariffs and Beijing has been rewarding countries that oppose them while pressuring supporters. BYD sold 3,438 cars in Germany during March, representing a 327% year-over-year increase, demonstrating their expanding European presence despite the challenging trade environment. That's your comprehensive catch-up on the last 25 hours. The throughline seems to be AI moving from experimental to production-ready, with real companies deploying agents while grappling with debugging and oversight challenges that traditional software never had.